What's up, everybody? Welcome to WJMS Media. This is your girl Jams. I'm so excited to be with you today. Oh, I have a good show for you guys. Really, really excited to have this guest with me. Before we get into the show for this evening, of course, a few housekeeping things to go over. WJMS Media, we are live and launched, ladies and gentlemen. So I know we have expanded from WJMS Radio over to the media platform. We have officially launched. And so if you're not hip, please get hip. Go check out our website, WJMS Media, on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, all of the major platforms. Go check us out, get connected, and definitely hit the website and subscribe. We have a newsletter coming out. Our Patreon account has been updated with new tiers. So folks that want to, support us and subscribe to us, we have some really good exclusive content on there and an entire year full of things that I think are going to be pretty amazing. And I'm really excited for where WJMS Media is going. I want to shout out the people behind the scenes that help make all of this possible. The folks that are interning with us. We've got Tim, Jack, and Casey. Of course, my folks who actually are on the station with me. We've got Rita and Steve, and I appreciate everybody who tunes in regularly, who likes and shares our content, who follows us, who works with us. Who continuously, recommends us to people that they know. We thank you and we appreciate you. But I want to get into the show. I want to give this lady as much of my time as I possibly can. If you guys want to connect with us, we are live on Facebook. We are also live on YouTube as well. Make sure you drop comments in the chat. We will read all of your comments and encouragement as we go through the episode. But my guest for today is Miss Rita Brent. She's a comedian, a musician, a military veteran, and she's from Jackson, Mississippi. She discovered her love for music as a young girl performing in talent shows and Southern Baptist churches as a drummer alongside her mother and singer-pianist Angela. At age 18, she joined the 41st Army National Guard Band, where she served for 9 years and ended her time in service as a sergeant. And she graduated from her beloved HBCU, Jackson State Universities, with a bachelor's degree in mass and speech communications, similar to myself. And she pledged Delta Sigma Theta as well. And then after graduating JSU, she landed at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, where she served as a radio host and producer, also similar to me, which is awesome. In March 2013, she made a sharp turn and plunged her career into comedy, stand-up comedian to be exact. And she's currently on tour as a feature act with her mentors, Rickey, Smiley, and Cedric the Entertainer. She wrote for the 73rd Primetime Emmy Awards, and she actually works as a staff writer for Comedy Central and Charlamagne the God show, The God Honest Truth. And she is signed with the Buckwald Talent Agency in New York. And I am really excited. There's so much more in between that I actually skipped because I wanted to give her an opportunity to talk about what she's done and what she has going on. But I want to welcome you to the show, Rita. Thank you for being with me today. And how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. My
Of
pleasure being
course.
here.
So
Yes.
exciting. You have so much stuff going on. First of all, when I was reading your bio, I'm like, okay, this is a lot of resume stuff right here.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
still not rich. So
Right? Like, does it ever get any easier?
still
uh,
pinching pennies out here.
Listen, pinching pennies, like putting water in the milk carton. We understand. We know the struggle. We know how it goes.
hmm
So
hmm
first of all, I want to thank you for your service in the Army. My husband is in the Army as well, and so I definitely know the sacrifice and all that goes into being in the Army. So I appreciate everything that you've gone through and that you've done for us and the country and everything else. So thank you for that.
A pleasure
Um,
to serve. What's your husband do in the army?
He is, oh God, he's gonna kill me. He is an army. He's a sergeant first class. His MOS is fuel and ammunitions. So he handles
Oh,
all that good stuff on base. We live in Savannah, Georgia, and so he's stationed at Hunter. And so that's his role. Hopefully, I said that right. I'll probably hear about it if I didn't later on
that's
tonight.
correct.
But I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure I said it correctly.
I'm
But yeah,
pretty sure your husband has sacrificed way more than I did as a drummer in the band. Let's just be clear
listen.
about that.
Every role is important. Okay, every role is important. It doesn't matter.
All
Um,
right.
But also happy belated birthday. I was really excited to see that on social media. Did you do anything fun?
Yeah. I did. I celebrated my 35th birthday, and I share a birthday with Oprah, and
That's
she
what's
does
up.
not know, but I'm
She will.
praying one day she'll know. I'm like, come on, you're from Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi, Oprah. You must know that you have somebody out here in your shadow. So I came home to do a pop-up comedy show slash birthday show. So I did about an hour of comedy. A couple friends of mine performed some comedy as well. Talented violinist named John Uzudinma. he performed as well, and it was just amazing. It was a small but mighty crowd. The energy was electric. We ate some cake and had some champagne, and I don't think I would have rather spent my birthday any other way than here in Mississippi, where I know I am loved. So it was a great time.
That sounds amazing. There's nothing like being surrounded with love on your birthday. I don't know
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is about birthdays that it's just like you just got a little extra pep in your step. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, and 35, that's a big number. I turned 35 this year too. We are very similar.
Hmm.
As I'm reading through all your stuff, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but it's we are closer to 40 than we are to 25, as depressing as that is to say.
Yeah. I feel young. Uh, in on the inside. Now I'm noticing my knees are cracking a little bit more.
Whew.
Certain foods are not agreeing with me a little more often, like cheese and milk and all that. I'm like, oh no, I got to make some adjustments. Okay, I get it now. My
Listen.
grandmother, she always says, just keep living. Now I understand what that means.
Listen, these can't be the same knees that we was in the club twerking to and doing the percolator and all that stuff. They can't be.
Yeah,
I refuse to
nah,
believe it. But
nah.
anyway, I digress. So first of all, I want to jump into all the things that you're doing. So comedy, you have a podcast, music, producing, writing. Which of these things is your favorite thing to do? Like what is the one that you enjoy doing the most out of all of it?
Hmm. If I had to pick off the top of my head, I would say music. Because with music, I get to combine comedy sometimes. I do satirical songs.
Yeah,
Um, and so I can either make it funny or I can make it serious with my song I Deserve to Be Alive, which is like a civil rights type socially conscious song. But I am really excited whenever I'm performing music or writing it for someone else or writing it for myself. And I think music, it's more perpetual. It lasts longer to me
it
than
does.
comedy. I mean, you think about comedians, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, their comedy is going to live forever as well. But in terms of, you play What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, yeah, that's still relevant today. I mean, the same comparisons can be made with comedy as well, but I think music kind of withstands test of time to me a little bit more. So I would definitely say music.
Okay. And we do have
Hmm.
a little comedy music clip to share. I can't wait. I watched it and I was like I was cracking up.
Oh
I'm gonna
boy.
get the we'll get the background on where this came from and all that kind of stuff soon. But so music
Okay.
is your first love. What do you have going on in the music world then? So I know you have your three singles that you put out, Raised in the Sip, Deserve to Be Alive, and Kamala, which are great.
Thank
But
you.
are you looking at putting out an album or anything like that, or what's on the horizon for you musically?
Yes, this year in particular, I'm hoping to drop an EP of about 7 songs. And it's a little challenging because I can do so many genres. I think it may just have to be a multi-genre EP because I love the Southern Soul, which is really popular here in the South, but I can rap and I can sing a little bit. So I'm leaning toward a multi-genre EP. And so the next thing I'll be doing in this month is going to the studio to record that first song that I'm going to release as a single next. But I do want to re-record the song "I Deserve to Be Alive" because I think it's relevant right now because it's Black History Month. And this weekend I'm going to be hosting a peace walk and peace talk with Trayvon Martin's mother. And so
Okay.
yeah, that's going to be like a full circle thing for me to be walking alongside her, and I have her son's name in my song, so I'm going to re-release that song as well. I Deserve to Be Alive.
That is gonna be super powerful. Like, oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Well, share that with us when you do. We would love to promote with you and share with our network as well, because I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So in terms of music, would you say that you got some of your musical influence from your Southern upbringing? Or because I mean, you have so many genres that you're good with. So where did all that come from? It has to be, if you're sort of a melting pot, what were some of the things that poured into you when you were younger to create who you are today?
Well, I started gigging, like performing with a full band when I was about 18. Yeah, it was before that. Yeah, it was before 21 because they used to have to sneak me into the casino in Mississippi, in Vicksburg. I was on the drums, and I wasn't singing background at the time. But I mean, I started in church, so of course I have gospel influences. My mother is a gospel artist. I've written a gospel song for her and some other folks. So the foundation is gospel. You know, I know all about changes, and you know, I could just recognize so many things musically, because I played drums in church my whole life, and my mother is a pianist. So that's my foundation. But when I started gigging and playing R&B music, that's when I learned about your Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Stevie Wonder and Prince, who's my favorite artist. Playing the music really did inform my style, for the kind of music that I want to make. And I don't know what made me start rapping. I was just like, I'm just gonna try it, and it worked. You know, I was like, oh, I can rap fast too. So I had been listening to all the rap, and some of it just didn't meet my taste buds. And I said,
Yep.
well, I'm just gonna put out what I'm not hearing instead of complaining about it. Oh, this music ain't like it used to be. I'm just gonna put out the music that I like to hear and make it available. So.
That works. That absolutely works.
Hmm.
And most of the time when we don't see what we want or when we don't like what we have as options, we create our own. That's absolutely that's what
Yeah.
you do. You know, that's amazing.
Hmm.
And so for I always ask this to musicians whenever they come on the show. I always ask who would be sort of like a dream collaboration for you. And I think that would be a super interesting question for you to answer, being as though you have so many influences. So who would that person be? Like you're putting out your EP coming up this year, who would you be, absolutely just geeked to be on the album with?
Well, it would have been Prince.
Oh man.
Um,
Oh man, yeah.
yeah, a multi instrumentalist. I went to see him live, and he was hopping from the drums to the piano to the guitar, and I'm just like, yo, this is amazing. Just in terms of funk and pure talent, and just having an ear out of this world, it would have been Prince.
Mm.
So now I might like to collaborate with an Anderson Paak. I think we have very similar styles. You know, he drums and he
Yep.
plays drums while he's singing. I do the same thing. Yeah, I really like that fella. So I think a collaboration there could work. We could both be on the drum set, singing and rapping or whatever. It'll be tight.
Oh my lord, I am like
I ain't
low
on
key
his
obsessed with
radar,
him.
but you know, are you?
Yes, I love Anderson Paak's music. Like I have, oh my goodness, I have.
Mhm.
I don't, fangirl out over many artists. He's one that I'm
Yeah,
like, oh yeah. Whenever he puts an album out, I'm like, yep, got it.
yeah,
Not even a worry. But
yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that would be a really dope collaboration for you to have. And listen, who knows? You got this out here right now, so people out there in the internet watching and listening, if you know Anderson Paak or you know 6 degrees of separation him somehow, you know,
Tell
put
him
the
to
put the
holler at
put the
me.
pieces together.
Yeah,
And he seems like he's like super approachable too. That's the thing that like I like about him. He doesn't seem like
hmm,
he's like a bougie type of celebrity. I feel like if you actually slid in his DMs and said something, he might actually give you the time of day. Like as an
yeah.
artist, not like, groupie type thing, but as an artist.
Yeah, he does have this underlying vibe of familiarity and relatability. So yeah, you might be right. It won't
Yeah.
hurt to what they say, shoot your shot. It won't hurt.
Listen, shoot your shot all 2020,
Yeah,
2022.
professional shot.
Yes.
Shoot your professional shot.
Yes,
Yeah.
please don't shoot your personal life shot because those don't always end well and you end up screenshotted. So, professionally
Yeah,
shoot your shot.
that's right. That's right.
All right. So let's dive into comedy because that's also, I think, a big part of what you're doing currently, being as though you're, sort of on tour with Cedric the Entertainer. You're writing for Charlamagne the God Show and you've been with on Kevin Hart's, Laff Mobb and all this kind of stuff. So how did you know you were funny enough to be a stand-up comedian? Like, some people try stand-up comedy and they don't do well. So how did you know you had what it took, like, and to make that sharp turn from broadcasting to being a stand-up comedian is pretty severe or, extreme. So I just want to know where that came from and how you knew that was what you wanted to do.
I didn't know. I didn't know that I wanted to do it professionally. I just thought I wanted to be the family comedian, or as they would say, the class clown. Because if I really reflect my entire life, I have been the one trying to make people laugh in any particular arena, whether it was band or basketball. Now my former teammates remind me that I was in the locker room doing something goofy to make them laugh. But it wasn't until I turned 26 that I thought about stand-up comedy as a career. I went to a comedy show here in Jackson, Mississippi, And while I was watching the other comedians, I started getting butterflies, and it's like God was speaking to me, like, "Hey, this is something you need to try. You can do this." In a couple of weeks, I did try. A couple of weeks later, and yeah, that was going on 9 years ago. That first night I performed, I just felt so much freedom,
Yeah.
just to be able to say anything, which comes with a lot of responsibility these days. Lately,
Mm-hmm.
with much freedom comes much responsibility. I think we're learning that. But that was 9 years ago, and I I started listening to people who have been in the industry for a while, saying, "Hey, you're funny. You have what it takes." Because I had dealt with some self doubt. I still deal with it occasionally. But after so many people stamp you, say, "Hey, you're funny." Well, you had better go ahead and walk into your purpose before it's too late. So that's what I'm doing now.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's and
Mhm.
it's one of those things, and I can attest to that too. Like media and radio and all of that is kind of that was the same thing for me. Like I went to college for broadcasting and communications, and I remember getting an internship. I'll say I started in the radio club at my college, but I remember when
Mhm.
I got my internship at the radio, an official radio station like Wire 96.5 down in Philly. Like, I remember walking through the doors of that, just the whole station, and I got the same feeling that I think you had with the butterflies and, like, something just clicks, it feels different, and you're like, "Oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this feels
Mhm.
right," and so,
Absolutely.
that first time I sat in the studio with one of the on-air hosts, I was, comfortable, like,
Mhm.
smooth, no nervousness, no nothing, and it's I mean, to this day, it's the same thing, like, I might be nervous, you know, in the interim talking to the guests and stuff like that, like, before we go live, but as soon as that on-air button starts, snaps into gear, and I think that that's how you know you're doing something that you're either really passionate about or really good at, is that, you have
Mhm.
the nervousness, but at the end of the day, you're good at what you do, and
Mhm.
it's I think you have that same thing, you've had that same moment where you realize like, yeah, this is you know what, somebody is speaking to me about it. Let me listen and not let me not block my blessings. Let me go ahead and walk in this and like you said, walk in this purpose. I love that. That's really dope.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to leave this earth with any regrets. Well, I won't speak for anybody else, but I don't.
Yeah.
I often use the example of you're at Chuck E. Cheese. When I was a child, I used to be at Chuck E. Cheese, and I would have all these tokens, and I would try to save the tokens. So oh no, I'm going to be back. I'll have time to spend these and get the big prize.
Yeah.
And 10 years have passed, and I would still have those tokens because I just didn't take the chance to go get the prize. So I just decided that I'm not going to leave this earth with tokens in my pocket. I'm going to spend them all and try to get whatever prize it is for me. You know.
I need that on a t-shirt. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to leave this earth with tokens in my pocket.
Nope.
I'm making that a soundbite. I'm definitely keeping that. That was cool. But yeah. So I have a comment in the chat here, and shout out to all the folks that are watching right now. I got my friend Curtis watching, and some other folks from all my different walks of life. So Curtis checks in and says, "How is it working with Cedric the Entertainer?" And so I want to talk a little bit about that, and kind of see where that came from, and exactly what he asked, what it's like working with him.
Oh, it's amazing. I still have butterflies when I am around Sid because it's somebody who I grew up watching,
Look at you calling
Kings
him
of
said.
Comedy. That's funny. My friend said that, oh, y'all on nickname basis. I'm like, yeah,
Right?
that's all right. I didn't say Seti Pooh like Levita on
Sandy
oh yeah. I'm still pretty nervous around him because he carries himself like a king. People treat him like a king. Um and he just has this presence of royalty about him, and he's comedic royalty, he's entertainment royalty in his own right. But working with Sid is great. I learn a lot. I learn so much about the industry. I learn how to carry myself. His composure is just so impressive to me. And he's so chill, like we're backstage, he's chilling, we're watching a game, we're exchanging thoughts about basketball, but then he gets on stage and he just kills it, so he's very consistent in his professionalism, very kind, and if I ask him a question, he'll give me an answer. But I do appreciate that he pays attention, and he believes in giving younger folks a chance. So he did not have to ask me to write for him for the Emmys. I'm sure he had other people who could have done that, but he apparently knew that I needed the experience and it's something that I could do. So, he's one of those who is comfortable where he is in his career, and he gives back. And I'm just blessed to be a beneficiary of his kindness.
That's awesome. And man, like to be learning underneath Cedric the Entertainer, talk about an OG, like original Kings of Comedy. Like it doesn't get no better than that. Like how many comedians
Yeah.
nowadays have based their comedy or who have modeled their comedy careers after watching any of those folks that were on that stage for Kings of Comedy? So
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that's
you
a
can
hell of a
see it.
blessing.
You can see it. Their influence, it shines through most black comedians. You can say, "Oh, okay, yeah, he kind of sound like Bernie Mac, or his swag is kind of like Sid's."
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, it is. It feels surreal, but I am definitely blessed to even be in the room with him and to open up for him. It's just it's an honor.
I love it. Well, that actually is a good transition. I'm going to play this video clip that we have of you doing a singing comedy skit, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about that and sort of, where that came from and what the background is on
Okay.
that. So everybody stay tuned. There we go. We're glitching out. Hold on. Sorry, folks.
I said you can't be a praise dancer if you used to be a stripper. Sing it. I said you can't be a praise dancer if you used to be a stripper. Why don't you listen? I said you can't be a praise dancer if you used to be a stripper. Come on. I think you need to go and sit down, 'cause you can't drop it like it's hot up in here. Oh, she wear short dresses to church because she want the deacon to make it rain. Why don't you listen? She wear short dresses to church because she want the deacon to make it rain. Why don't you go sit down, sit down, go sit down, sit down, go sit down, sit down, go sit down.
I was cracking up when I saw that. I love that. So,
Thank you.
what was the background on that whole clip? Like, what was that? What was the premise for that?
Well, I met Rickey Smiley in 2016, and we hit it off, and I was like, yeah, I can write musical stuff too. And he had asked me to write him some songs, and he didn't get around to using them, and I was like, well, the song is still here, so I'm going to record it and keep it for myself. And yeah, I was afraid to do that song in a church setting because I didn't know how the congregation would respond, but they were hollering. And afterwards, I got a standing ovation and everything. So recently, I just decided to drop that clip. That clip is from at least a couple of years ago. And I forgot I had it, and I was just looking for something to post on social media. And said, oh, you know what, I'm just going to post this little clip. They were cool with it on Instagram, but TikTok, they were mad. She can
Really?
be a praise dancer. God can use her.
Oh Lord, they
It
always
don't
get in they
matter if
feel.
she was a stripper. I was like, hey, I'm a comedian. Whatever y'all got going on, y'all don't preach at me. I'm a comedian, okay? So
People always, 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 always like have something to say about something everywhere. So look,
Mhm.
I think it's hilarious. We got comments in the chat. KR Burns says clutching her pearls. And then other folks are saying hilarious. Like we're getting some good comments here. So you keep doing what you're doing because it's fine.
Yeah, satire. That's it. It's satire.
Exactly. You're
I'm
not
not in a
serious
place to
about it.
judge anybody, but yeah, if something's funny, yeah, we're gonna laugh about it.
I tell you what, if I was in church on one Sunday morning and the pastor was like, "Oh, we got a guest who's going to come up here and bless us with a song today,"
Yeah.
and you got up there and did something like that, I would have been cracking up for sure. So
Yeah.
that would have been like a great deviation from the regular Sunday service.
Hmm. And that's all. I mean, just the realization that anybody can laugh. I don't know how it got to the point where it's like church people are just prude and they can't laugh. Yeah, you laugh at home, you laugh and cuss at the family reunion. Go ahead and
Yeah,
let it out. God wants you
exactly.
to laugh.
And the crazy part about it was when I first watched it, it's like the reaction of the lady in the video because you're like, I didn't make a praise dance for it, so you just let the spirit move you. And she's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, cool. And you start off, and then she stops and she's like, what?
Yeah, she probably thought it was gonna be something slow, but she had her shoulders out, So I said, "Well, this is perfect. This is perfect." Yeah, she's a great volunteer, though. I wonder where she is. Does she know she's all over the internet?
I'm sure if 6 degrees of separation, I'm sure somebody out there is like, you're on the internet, right? I'm sure she'll find out or she'll see it. But so other than the comedian stuff and the music, I know that you're writing currently for Charlamagne the God show, the God's Honest Truth. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to talk a little bit about that and sort of how that came about. It seems like that might have been sort of an opportunity that, was part of your blessings after the Emmy Awards. But how did you get the opportunity to actually write for that show and what does that look like, on a regular basis for you?
I was on this platform called Comedy Hype. They have a show, Comedy Hype News, which is on YouTube, and I was a comedy analyst on there. So we would talk about all things comedy and just give our viewpoints. It's me, comedian Pierre Capone, and host Symphony Thompson. And so from being on that platform, the head writer for The God's Honest Truth saw me, giving my opinions and so I guess he said, okay, she's pretty intelligent, and gave me the opportunity to write on The God's Honest Truth. So, comedian Charles McBee was the one who, handpicked me to be one of the staff writers for this particular show, and that was great. This is my first like corporate type gig in comedy. First time in a writer's room, even though it was virtual, we did get to do some stuff in person too because the show films live in New York. So that was different for me. That was I will say has been one of the highlights of my career, being able to write professionally for a show on Comedy Central. So yeah, that show, we're on hiatus right now. We may be
Yeah.
coming back pretty soon. But yeah, so that's what I did for most of last year, and then I got a chance to be on air as well on that show. I was in whiteface as a Fox News host, so I was kind of like like a Sean Hannity, but as a woman, and I had a blonde wig, and I was like a white lady, but I was trolling Charlamagne about what he was saying on the show. So yeah, that has been really fun. But while I was doing the show, that's when I got the call from Sid about doing writing for the Emmys. So actually being in the writers' room for Charlamagne's show prepared me for being in the writers' room for the Emmys.
Ah, okay.
So I will say, don't take anything lightly, because had I not been in that room for Charlamagne's show, I would have been really lost in that Emmys room with all of those veterans. So yeah, God was preparing me and I didn't even know it.
Yeah. You know what's funny when you say that? Like, there's a lot of things that we go through in our careers and in our personal lives that we don't realize are preparing us for a next step in things. And you don't notice it until you're in the midst of whatever that
Hmm.
next step is. And you're like, damn, that was really like, they was really setting me up for this, like, and it's,
Hmm.
it's one of those things where you don't notice it until you're in the middle of it. And when you're in the middle of it, as soon as you notice, you're like, wow, like I
Yeah.
feel that same way about some of the things that I've dealt with in terms of just the radio station before we became the media company and we were the radio station. I mean, so many things that I went through with WJMS radio have prepared me for success for WJMS media, that I'm like, okay, no,
Absolutely.
this is what needs to happen. And it's like, you sometimes you would just end up grooming yourself, and
Hmm.
being open to the opportunity, I think, is the most important thing, because a lot of
Hmm.
times, and I say this to young kids as well when I talk to younger folks and folks who are in like high school and colleges and things. Um, they get tunnel vision. They get this idea of, this is what I want to do when I get out of when I get out of school or when I grow up or whatever. And they don't realize that there's so much more to, jobs and careers than just that one thing. Like kids that are like, oh, I want to be a basketball player. But there are
Hmm.
so many people behind and around that basketball player that sometimes make more money than the player himself and don't have to destroy their bodies, but they're still in that industry and they're still doing certain things because, a lot of times a lot of these kids are aspiring to be, you know, athletes, musicians, things like that, where it's kind of hard to get in there and to really break and make it and make it big. And if you do,
Hmm.
sometimes you destroy your body. And so you have to have a plan B. And so I always talk to people about having that plan B and making sure that they understand that they need to be open to opportunities, because you never know when something like the opportunity to write for the Emmys is going to fall into your lap just because you were available and open to, speaking about it and willing to experience it. And so I think that's really powerful, and it's awesome that happened.
Yeah, yeah, just be open. And the way I got the Emmys gig from Sid is we were performing in Naples, Florida, summer 2021, and it was just me and him in this little club. I was opening, doing about 25 minutes, and then Sid would close it out. And so one night I was listening to his set, and I was like, "Oh, I see some stuff I can add, you can make it even funnier." And I made all these notes, and I hit my mom up, and I said, "Mom, I got some notes. Like I want to pitch some ideas to Sid." And I was scared, She was like, "Well, just do it. What's the most he can say? Just not use the notes." I said, "Okay." And so I gave him the notes, and I was like, "Yeah, I think you can say this. You can add this." And he used them, and they all worked that next night. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he came off stage, and he was like, "Yeah, those notes worked out pretty well." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, they did." And then 3 months later, he called me about the Emmys gig. So had I not taken that chance to be in the moment and listen to his set and give him some additional ideas on those on his jokes, and he would not have even known that I could write, that I had the
Yep.
capacity to do something other than stand up. So just take the chance, because being a stand-up comedian is one thing, but you can also get money from being a writer. You're not on stage; you can be behind the scenes.
Yep.
So the opportunities for additional streams of income are really vast in the entertainment industry.
They are. They absolutely are. And I'll tell you too, when I was younger and before I started the radio station, for me, like my glass ceiling, I always wanted to be a radio personality on Sirius XM. For me, that was like the quintessential ultimate, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then the opportunity to have my own radio station presented itself, and I was like, oh wait, that's actually a little bit better. I can own the platform, and then I can really say and do what I want, and I can
Hmm.
kind of be in charge. And I wasn't even thinking about that. I hadn't even taken
Right.
my own advice back in the day. I mean, I didn't know it back in the day, but now I talk about being open to opportunities, because had I just said, no, I don't want to do that, like, I don't even know where I would be today. I had no
Right.
idea how to run a radio station. I had no idea how to do any of that, but I just knew, I was like, yeah, that sounds right. I'm going to do it. And I had no clue, and it's just like I just went with it and I followed my intuition. I said, yeah, let's do this. But had I said no, if I was too scared and I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna, if I held back, I don't know where I would be right now. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation, you and I, but I know
Hmm.
that the radio station and the media company has enriched my life and my network of people that I've met, just who are amazing people in ways I can't even imagine. And so it's just, to me, like, take the opportunity, take the shot. If it's scary, that means it's good. A lot of times those
Right.
scary opportunities are the ones that push you to your limits and past your comfort zone, so that you can grow as a person, and you can groom yourself into the next position that you're supposed to take, like we talked about. So I love it.
Absolutely.
Take
Hmm.
Shoot your shot, all 22 people,
Shoot
all
it.
2022.
Shoot it.
We got a comment in the chat here from KR Burns. She says, or they say, I'm sorry, I don't know what your pronoun is, but it says, during the pandemic, you had a lot of IG content on Trump. Did you ever get tired of talking about Trump? I think we all got tired of talking about Trump.
Uh,
I know I
oh,
did.
I think that answer is twofold. Um, it was giving me content, so I wasn't tired of that. I wasn't tired of going viral at his expense. I mean, I got a lot of views. So I wasn't tired in that sense. And, I felt the need to call him out, but do so in a way that was funny, to kind of take the edge off how sad it was that he was in office and was able to do all these things. So
Mhm.
for me, it was therapy. I was tired of talking about him, but the whole world was talking about him. So I just did it in my own way, in a way that gave people some kind of relief, because otherwise we all just would have been angry, like, how is this man in office? That's what I felt myself getting angry. And so instead of just releasing it in anger, I just decided to do it humorously. Yeah. So it's harder now. I don't have as much content against with Biden. Um, so yeah, I definitely had, it was easier
Yeah.
to have content because Trump was always doing something dumb.
He
Always.
was
Always.
consistently doing something. It was like, gosh, there was no shortage of content because of this man. Like, it was a very content-filled 4 years that he was in office. It was maddening. It was like every other day you turn on the news and you're like, "Oh god,
And
okay."
when he said 2 Corinthians, I damn near fell out the bed. I just couldn't believe it. And I think
Like,
he was holding the Bible upside down. Like this man, he is an unintentional comedian. He doesn't even know it, but he's
like
funny.
so I want to jump into a little bit of like your not your personal life per se, but I want to know about you as a person. So, if you had an extra 3 hours in your day, somehow, some way, everything fell through, all your plans fell through, and you just all of a sudden had 3 hours in your day that were free and clear, what would we find you doing?
Walking, hiking. I love walking and just being in nature. Like I like to just go stand by some body of water and just listen to it. That's actually how I go to sleep. My wife and I, we turn on rain and thunder sounds. But to
Hilarious.
actually be next to that, I was in the Virgin Islands once, and all of the sounds that were on my app were actually happening on the island. It was amazing, like the rustling of the trees, and it sounded like rain on a tin roof. It was all live on the Virgin Islands. But I would just be out in nature, maybe
I
eating
love
a
it.
cookie or something. Eating a cookie. I like sweets.
I'm so glad you didn't say something like sleeping. Like I was half expecting you to say sleeping because most folks that are busy like ourselves are like, yeah, I'll be asleep.
No, I don't like sleeping. It's a struggle for me to sleep. I know sleeping is good for you. It helps build the immune system and helps get the toxins out, resets your body. So I do sleep, but it's not necessarily what I like to do. I'm ready to get up and read and work and do stuff. So I get about 7 to 8 hours, maybe six, but no, I'm not a
7 or 8
sleeper.
is ideal. Like what? That's great.
Yeah, but I do fall asleep really quickly. Like I'm sleeping right now. I fall
Listen,
asleep really quickly. It's
yeah,
it's pretty embarrassing. I mean, like in comedy clubs, the louder it is, the easier it is for me to go to sleep. So I am a sleeper, but I don't like sleeping a lot.
we have sort of semi that in common. I can fall asleep fast. If I sit still long enough, I will fall asleep. Like I have to move
Hmm.
consistently or I will literally my body's like, "Oh, we done? All right, cool." But like
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
falling asleep in loud venues, I don't know about that. Like that,
yeah.
you're on your own for that. That's a little strange. I don't know where
I
that
fell
came from.
asleep playing the drum set one night. We were playing
How?
a blues song, and it was just a slow blues, and it was a 12 to 4 a.m. gig. So
Oh,
I had gone to sleep. I had to wake up and go to the gig at 12 to 4 a.m. And so it was just a slow blues, and I just dozed right on off. I didn't get off beat though. But the guitar player was like, he like hit the drum, like wake up, like oh shit, I done went to
wow.
sleep.
But you didn't even miss a beat. That's the part that's hilarious. Like, how do you fall asleep drumming and still be on beat?
Yeah, this blues. Now, had it been rock or something, that would have been a rap. But
Yeah.
slow blues is just that. It's slow and it can be a little boring. So yeah, that's what
12 a.m.
happened.
to 4 a.m.?
That's just insane. It's a
Like, who's
nice,
out at
it's a
that time?
nice spot. Oh, people are out. It's a nice spot called F. Jones Corner in Jackson, Mississippi, and it's in the historic Fast Street district. If you're ever in Jackson, and yeah, it's packed. It's like a hole in the wall, and they have all kind of food like chicken and fried grits, and um, you know, all the
Fried
foods
grits?
that you would eat that time of night after you had a little something to eat. I had a little something to drink rather. Yeah, but it's called F. Jones Corner, Frank Jones Corner, and the shift for the musicians is 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Yep.
Ouch.
Ouch
Wow.
is right. Hmm.
It's like you fall asleep and nobody pays attention, but for a packed house, oh yeah, no, everyone's noticing.
It's dark in there. It's pretty dark. And nobody was dancing at that time, so they weren't like in our faces. It was like right at 12, so people were coming in slowly but surely. I just
Okay.
didn't sleep long enough that day. Yeah, fell asleep playing the drum set. It happened.
That's pretty impressive. I have to tell you. But so the last thing, or not last thing, but the one of the other things that I noticed in your resume here is that you have a podcast. There's only one
Mhm.
episode though, and I really liked it. And I wanted to know if you were coming out with any more episodes, or if there's
Which
anything.
podcast you talking about?
That's the one that you
R-
had? It's like just the one single episode. It was on see, I
Not
don't have it
Raised in
written down. You're
Sip.
calling me out. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Uh, what platform were you on where it's only one episode out?
I went on your website. Let me
That's
see. Hold on.
odd. Oh, the website. Okay. Yeah, I think it may be one featured, just one featured on the website. But if you go on
Ah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, it should be 8. It should be 8 episodes. So that's season 1 was 8 episodes.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, on the website, I think it's like the latest one featured on there.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah, Raised in the
So
Sip.
that podcast, how often do you do that? What's the plans for that for 2022? And, I guess shout it out so people know where they can listen and check it out.
Yeah, so it's called Raised in the Sip. That's also the title of one of my singles from last year, where I talk about being from Mississippi, and there's a music video to go along with the song. I filmed it inside the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. It's a really powerful video, and I'm just shouting out some people who were raised in the SIP that you may not know about. So I decided to start a podcast in collaboration with the Women's Foundation of Mississippi. So on the podcast are people, women who were raised in Mississippi and are doing things to contribute to the betterment of girls and women. But it doesn't just have to be women on the podcast. If you are a person who is doing some kind of work to help women, you can be on the podcast. But I've had Pamela Jr., who's the director of the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum, Cassandra Welshland, who's fighting really hard to get an equal pay law on the books for women in Mississippi, Nasli Cephas, who is I consider a tech queen, the queen of tech of Mississippi. She is doing a lot to improve tech in technology education in Mississippi. So I have about 8 guests on. A good friend of mine, Tania, she's a musician. And we have been to Africa playing together, but she does a lot of important work. And so the first season is just amazing. I mean, if you are creative, if you're somebody who's interested in women's issues, or if you're interested in self-help type talk, that is the podcast to listen to. It's very encouraging. It's not just for women, even though we do talk about some women issues. It's a really good podcast, and we do cover a range of things. So it's just one-on-one interviews, and I'm using my public radio skills, asking the good questions, and just trying to let the interviewee shine. And so for season 2, I plan to do some live things, because it was all audio. It was during the pandemic, and so we were just doing Zoom things like this. So we're gonna do it live. I hope to get some bigger guests and have people come out and be part of the conversation live, where you can ask questions. I hope to get people like Stacey Abrams and Anjanou Ellis on, just so we can have these conversations, but also conversations that encourage people to do something. I think we talk a lot here in America.
Yeah.
But then the doing part kind of takes a back seat. So we not only just want to talk, we want to do and put things into action as well.
Absolutely. And it's on all major platforms, right? You said it's on so Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes,
Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever you get your podcast, you should be able to get it. It's on Google Podcasts as well, maybe Amazon. I'm not sure. Just put in Raised in the Sip. That's SIPP with Rita Brent, and it should pop up. And just binge listen. I guarantee you'll feel something good. You'll feel good after you get finished listening to either of the interviews.
Comments in the chat already saying sounds incredible and can't wait to check it out. So that's exciting.
Thank
I
you.
will drop the link to all of that stuff at the end of the episode, folks. I'll put all of her contact information and her links and things like that. So if you want to follow up and go check it out, it'll be right there for you to click on. So we're almost closing in on the last 15 minutes of the show here. I want to see, what do you have in store for 2022? We've talked a lot about what you've done so far. What are you doing currently?
Yeah, so the EP is coming at some point, hopefully before the end of the year. Maybe I'll do a Christmas song as well. Something bluesy.
Can you do a comedy Christmas album? Like, I don't know. I'm tired of listening to the same 18 Christmas songs on repeat for like a month and a half to 2 months out of every year.
You mean comedy or music?
Both.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Like, I saw mommy drinking the Henny under the Christmas tree or something. I don't know. Like, let's make some remixes. It's time for some different music. Like,
that's funny. That's a good idea. Yeah, I could totally do that. That's really funny. I like that. Yeah, I can make that happen. So yeah, EP, and I'm gonna start doing my own tour. The name of it is Born Funny. And I mean that in a couple ways, born funny, hee hee, or born funny, ha ha, so I do have a wife, so but the name of the tour is gonna be Born Funny. I kind of kicked it off on my birthday and it went really well, but I hope to go to some more places in the South. I got a lot of folks in Dallas and Houston want me to come there, so I'll do a Southern tour, at least 10 cities. I was gonna do some live stand up and working on doing a bigger comedy special in my hometown in the fall because I'm going to be recording a comedy album in conjunction with this company that reached out. So those are the big things. And other than that, I often am asked about 5-year plan and all that kind of stuff. And, I have my plans and then God's like, no, those are too little. So
Yeah, no.
I honestly don't know. I do know summers are really hot for me. That's when all the big things that happen to me happen in the summer. I met Kevin Hart in the summer, Rickey Smiley in the summer, Cedric the Entertainer in the summer. Every summer, something big pops off, and that's because it's my season. I don't like cold. I don't like being cold, none of that. So yeah, I'm just gonna do the work and move with good intentions, and just wait for the blessing to come and just be prepared when it comes. So yeah, I have some ideas in mind, but I don't think I'm in control of what's going to happen. My saying is, "What's divine can't be denied." So I'm just going to be prepared when the thing comes.
Yeah, man, I never asked for a 5-year plan because when people ask me for my 5-year plan, I hate it because I'm like, I mean, like I have, like you said, I have plans, but like they don't always pan out that way. Like sometimes different
Right.
opportunities. Like if you asked me 5 years ago if I'd be having a radio station, the answer would have been nope. And so here we are. Like things change.
Hmm.
But I always do ask what's on the horizon, like what's coming this year, like what you got going
Hmm.
on right now that people can get involved with. And so, is there anything else that we may have missed or that I may have missed that you want to talk about that you want to share with the audience tonight? We got about another 10 or so minutes. And I just want to give you the opportunity, whether it's, social, whether it's personal, whether it's, career wise, the floor is yours to really kind of share something that you want to discuss.
I have been thinking about making a post on Facebook, and the theme of the post was going to be why I stayed. I've listened and been watching the news lately, and we saw the passing of Regina King's son,
Hmm.
the former Miss USA. I think she may have been from Michigan.
Yeah.
Just today we saw Michael K. Williams. They're going to charge some folks with conspiracy in his death. And I think it was maybe like 2016, 2017. I was feeling suicidal myself. Another young man from The Walking Dead, James Mosley, I think his name is. They suspect he committed suicide as well. And it had me thinking about why I stayed. 2016, I had just gone through a divorce with my ex-husband, and I was in the closet and I was afraid to come out because I was in Mississippi and I wasn't talking about personal things in my stand up. It was real surface level, and I
Hmm.
just got real depressed. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be here. That's what I said. I said, I don't want to be here. And I remember telling a friend that. And when I said it out loud, I immediately said, oh, no, I take that back. I do want to be here. It's like something about verbalizing it made me realize that that's not really what I wanted. And so I remember I had my pistol on the bed and I just kept procrastinating. This is the first time procrastinating actually came in handy. Like I was going to the mailbox. I'm like, let me check the mail before I check out. Let me do the dishes. I can't leave my house any kind of way. But I stayed. I remember hearing Maya Angelou say something. Maya Angelou, I think that's how it's pronounced. She says something to the effect of, "How will you know? How do you know if things would get better if you don't stay? If you don't stay alive, how would you know?" Um, and I think that's a conversation we just need to have with each other. Removing the stigma about mental health, normalizing therapy, normalizing not calling a friend crazy or telling them that they just need to take a nap or you'll be all right. Normalizing being present in the lives of people that you care about and paying attention to signs when there may be distress, but you're too busy or you're too occupied on social media to pay attention to people.
Yep.
I think that's something that I want to do better about in 2022, and I hope other people do as well, because you never know that one conversation with somebody can, save your life. Had I not talked to my friend that day and verbalized that, I might have made a different decision. But I remember saying to myself, I'm not going to make a permanent decision in a moment of temporary weakness, you know? So yeah, just want to encourage people who are out there this evening who may be dealing with something. Um, you know, if you can muster up the strength to stay, just try it, because you don't know how your circumstances might change, you know, for the better. So
Absolutely. And that actually, I'm looking to do a roundtable. So WJMS Media is looking to do several roundtables throughout the year on different topics. One of those topics is like mental health and, suicide awareness and stuff like that. And so I'd love to get you in as a panelist if you're interested, and we can actually have that conversation, like you said. Bring
hmm
some people who have dealt with it, some, just people from all different walks of life together to talk about it and start having conversations so that we can start to, like you said, end the stigma behind vocalizing and actually speaking about what's going on, and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So yeah,
man,
absolutely.
should be no shame. You know, we all go through things respectively. You know, dealing with loss, whether it's job loss, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a relationship. You know, we're human. These things can get really tough. So I think we all just need to find healthy outlets to talk about these things. You know.
Absolutely. And KR Burns checks in again on Facebook and says, "Thank you for your honesty. Glad you found your purpose. The world needs your gift." So you're
Thank you,
you're
Kara.
definitely you're hitting some nerves in the chat, So definitely keep doing what you're doing. You're definitely a light, and people are attracting to that. So that's amazing. Um,
hmm
So, with the last 10 minutes here, or 9 minutes or so before we close, I want to give you an opportunity to shout out all of the various ways that people can get in touch with you, follow the things that you're doing, and, look in and take in some of your content. So, go ahead and shout out all of your platforms.
All right. I don't want to be on all these platforms, but I have to be. So I'm on Facebook. Rita Brent is my personal page, and Rita Brent Comedy is my fan page. I pretty much post the same content on both of those. So Rita Brent Comedy on Facebook. Same for Instagram, Rita Brent Comedy. TikTok, Rita Brent Comedy. Twitter, which I have the least amount of following. I just don't do much on that platform, but I am on there. And on YouTube as well, I do this thing called the Rita Brent Report, where I will report on something in the news and make it funny. I recently reported on Joe Biden's gaffe when he called that reporter an SOB because his microphone was still hot. So I just take some of those hot news story and make them hotter with laughter or satirical songs. So definitely follow me on YouTube. Drop some pretty funny stuff on there. And I think that's it. Maybe that's it. I don't have an OnlyFans account yet. I have not gotten to that point. I've
we
not
rubbing
gotten to
pennies
that
together,
point.
but we ain't there yet.
Yeah, I told my wife, I said, be on standby now. Be on standby just in case. Keep your toes done. Because, they paying for feet pictures out here. I don't know if you know that, but these men out
Listen,
here are freaky. They paying for feet pictures. I'm
and
like,
there
y'all
are
can't
plenty
just
of
Google
women
it.
that are ready to send you feet pictures for some money.
Yeah,
Listen,
they getting
listen.
that change. I
Someone's got to
can't hate on
appreciate
the
these
hustle.
toes.
Yeah, so not on OnlyFans at the moment. Thank goodness. Yeah, so.
But if you have an OnlyFans someday, I'm sure it would be Rita Brent. So just keep
Now
it
I'm
fresh in
having
that
an
pan.
alias. I'm gonna have, I think I'll probably give me a little alias.
They
Oh
gonna
man, yeah.
recognize you. They gonna notice who you are. You big now. They gonna know who you are. You have
Yeah,
to wear
that's
like a
the
fake
thing.
mustache.
That's the thing. Like somebody will see me in an obscure place. Like, where ain't you the girl from? Whatever. We were in Miami once, my wife and I. I think it was last January for her birthday, and we went to a nude beach. And she was like, "Come on, let's get." I'm like, I can't get naked. I'm a baby celebrity. I can't do this. TMZ is probably hiding in the sand with a camera. No, no. I'm a baby celebrity. I'm a random celebrity, I think. Yeah. People randomly recognize me.
I love it. TMZ in the sand. It's funny because it's true. Like it's not too outlandish, like for them to actually be hidden in the sand somewhere. So
Yeah.
that's great.
I mean, they break news within seconds. I'm like, wow, how? How y'all
Yeah,
do this? Y'all got
they're
people
like
microchipped? What's happening?
paparazzi ninjas. I don't understand it, but
Yeah.
well, I want to thank you so much for being with me tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I am going to make sure to tag all of your social media handles in the comments and stuff like that. And once we post the full episode, so that people can go straight to your page to connect with you. You're awesome, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing, and the laughs that you've given me so
Thank you.
far. Um, Shout out to everybody who's been watching and listening and dropping comments. We appreciate you as well. To the folks behind the scenes that help make WJMS Media possible, thank you as well. Make sure you connect with us on social media too. We are at WJMS Media on everything as well: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of the ones. I don't even know if I mentioned them all, but they're all there. So go ahead and check us out. We're on YouTube as well. You can hit our website at wjmsradio.com and the newsletter, subscribe to that. Make sure that you get connected with us so you can see all the things that we have happening with the media company now that we are new and we are launched. And again, just one more time, thank you so much for being with me today, Rita, and everything that you're doing. Make sure you share that single when you redo it with Trayvon Martin's
Okay,
mother. That would be amazing. So
I
we will
will.
definitely post and promote with you as well. So to everybody else, please stay safe out there. We will catch you next time on WJMS Media. SoundOff will be back with another episode on Saturday. So make sure you're tuned in once more. I'll send out that link. And again, stay safe and we'll see you next time.